So yeah, for all you guys watching at home, I'm here at Dinefwr Park in just outside Llandilo in Carmarthenshire, and I'm going to have a wander around and we're going to look at some of the trees here on site, some of the veteran trees, the really old ones, and later on we're going to have a little talk about succession planting and planting new woodlands and managing trees on your site. So I thought I'd start you off with a little view of the parkland around me, which is a couple of hundred years old, probably going back thousands of years actually with the castle and things. So I'll switch you over. And as you can see, it's absolutely fantastic. And aside from the main house and the castle, the real stars of the show here are the great old oak trees that we have on site. One of the most densely populated sites of veteran trees in the country. I think there's 400, 500, 600 maybe great big old oak trees here. So we'll have a little look first at this tree, which isn't actually that old. It's probably been planted within the last 100 years ago, probably more like something like in the 60s or 70s. But we can see it's starting to grow now into a beautiful open canopied oak tree. And give it a couple of hundred years, and we'll be looking like some of these we've got up in front of me here. So I'll switch over again. So yeah, this parkland was designed by Capability Brown, I think alongside the lady of the house. So it's quite common in these sort of estates that the man of the house would be off doing his trade up in London or in the Houses of Parliament or something like that, and leave the house and the family and his wife back here on the estate to sort of manage affairs. And I think it was Lady Rice at the time who worked with Capability Brown to design this parkland. She'd learned as a child with her mother designing the parkland on their previous estate. So in front of me now we have, switch you over, my fingers are all icy. Here we are, this lovely big oak tree. So this is probably getting on to maybe 200-300 years, something like that. So it's getting to a good size, and we've got a bit of dieback just starting to happen at the crown there. So we've got some stag-ended tips. So when an oak tree sort of reaches its maturity, the tops just start dying back slowly, and it puts more effort into just keeping itself going, really. And this is kind of almost middle age, really, for an oak tree. It's nowhere near its final stages yet. It'll be producing loads of acorns, which will go into feeding all the wildlife around it. Jays and originally sort of pigs and things like that. We've got some caroties, opening up at the bottom here. We've got a little bit of dead wood with some beautiful fungi starting to grow on it. Looks a bit like a turkey tail, but I'm not quite sure what this one is. It's very dark. So yeah, a couple of hundred years in, and you've got this beautiful oak tree just getting itself going, really. And then going on further, God, I don't know how old this one is, but you've got to be looking at maybe 400, 500, 600 years, maybe something like that. And you can see it's still going strong. The crown's died back quite a lot. You've got the main trunk of the tree there with a lot of the side branches coming out and a bit of epicormic growth. You've got big old limbs, some of which have dropped off, but that's not slowing it down. And on the ground here, some which is really fantastic, is big pieces of dead wood left. So as this rots down, it's going to be feeding the ground, it's going to be feeding the tree, and it's going to be keeping animals and the public away from the base of the tree, which is helping to prevent soil compaction, and it's just helping to protect the roots, and all the mycelium and things like that will be feeding the nutrients back into the tree. So yeah, that's really great. I'm going to have a little try and see if this will work. I've not tried this before, so bear with me. If I pop that on there, we can have a close-up look at some of the tiny lichens and things like that, which we've got growing on this piece of dead wood. So we've got some cladonia in here, which really love growing old dead oak. And then we've got some mosses and lichens all growing in together in the little nooks and crannies. And when I was down here the other day, you could see the robins hopping around on here, picking out little invertebrates and feeding on those. So yeah, really fantastic. In the base of the tree here, we've actually got a big piece of stone, which was probably placed here a couple of 100 years ago as a sort of bench for people to sit on, but it's been entirely engulfed by the tree over those hundreds of years. Switch back over to me. There we go. It's always a bit strange switching the screen over with these tiny little buttons. But yeah, as you can see, this is massive. It would probably take 5 or 6 of us to get our arms around this. It's a beautiful big tree. So yeah, dead wood, very important to be leaving. And we'll have a look at another little bit of dead wood now, which is parkland railings or and fence posts. So we've got post and rail fencing here. This is actually cleft chestnut, and you can see how it's very simply been made. You've got these big square uprights taken from chestnut, and then it's got bits of paling which have been riven and just slotted into these slots on the end. And we've got parkland railing all around the estate, which looks like that. It's great for helping to keep some of the white park cattle in, and it looks fantastic. And it's also covered in more lichens and fungi and things like that. And of course, that's not come from locally, because we don't have that much chestnut around here. But you know, that's been grown in chestnut woodland, and like some of the oaks you'll see in a minute, probably grown and looked after by foresters for hundreds of years. Now then, we have another little treat. If I can switch you back over. This is a sweet chestnut. And again, it might be a similar age to that oak tree, but it's really got even more features to it. This massive burr on the side, which has started decaying away, and it's got all sorts of little nooks and crevices in there full of invertebrates and birds and things feeding on that, probably bats nesting up in some of the cavities in the bark there. We've only got a little bit of dead wood around the base here, but you know, every little helps. And you might be able to see it up at the top there. This tree is actually at risk of sort of pulling itself apart. It's got 2 big limbs, and there's a big crack going down the middle here. I'll try and get the light a bit better, but it's actually been held together by a piece of rope work which has been installed just to help extend the life of the public. Someone's just asked if Dinefwr Park is open to the public at the moment. It is open to the public. The car parks are closed, so you need to park nearby. And I think we've still got the 5-mile restrictions in place. So unless you're local, you probably can't really get down here at the moment. But hang on, I'll switch you. switch you back over. But yeah, this is obviously National Trust property, and there's loads of these all over the country. There's probably one local to you. I mean, if you live in Carmarthen, you've got places like Bishop's Palace down at the museum there, which might be in walking distance. Most towns will have had some kind of big estates nearby, which are well worth getting out and exploring, because they've got some really great examples of veteran trees on most of their sites, and they do quite a good job of looking after them as well, and succession planting, which we'll talk about later. Have a quick look at the time. All right, so before I pass you back over to Ben, we've got another little treat. So you can see at the base here, this lovely brown rot, this soil, which is coming out of a huge cavity in the tree. So this is being broken down from the heartwood of the tree. It's where it stores a lot of its waste products. It's no longer needed. It's just added weight for the tree. So it's letting the fungi clear all that out and recycle it to feed the roots. And it's just leaving this cylinder of tree around it. So yeah, and now going inside the tree, we can see little things like we've got some aerial roots here. So the top of the tree is sending roots down, and it's eating into this heartwood that's rotting away, and it's getting all the nutrients out of it, and that's helping support the tree, hopefully for a couple more 100 years if it can keep standing. And yeah, great place to be inside trees. If you can find a hollow tree near you, and you're careful and you can get inside, the sound in here is absolutely fantastic. And of course, all these little nooks and crevices, great for invertebrates, some which will only live on trees which are more than 400 years old. So, really valuable spaces and places. And you'll have, barn owls and all sorts roosting up in trees like this, where you really don't like getting wet. But yeah. I'm not sure what the phone signal's like in here. I've been told it's a bit dodgy before. But yeah, on that note, I'll pass you back over to Ben, and I'll see you in a bit.